Finance Committee to order on Wednesday, May 5th. As chair of the Finance Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04 and subsequent extensions, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda on the city's website for the meeting link. To join by phone, dial 1-929-205-6099. The meeting ID is 882-8540-8513, and the passcode is 974493. The public may also view the meeting via channel 16. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashua's website at www.nashuanh.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and the Nashua Public Library. If anyone has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, you should also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Alderman Patricia Klee.
I am here. I can hear the proceedings, and I am alone in this room.
Alderwoman Elizabeth Lou.
I'm alone here and I can hear you.
Clerk is present. I'm alone and I can hear you. Alderman at Large Shoshanna Kelly.
I'm here. I'm alone and I can hear everyone.
Alderman at Large Brandon Michael Laws.
I'm here. I'm alone and I can hear everyone.
Alderman at Large Michael B. O'Brien Sr.
I'm present. I can hear the proceedings and I am alone.
And Mayor Jim Dodges.
Yes, I'm distancing as a result of the pandemic and I'm alone in the room. All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. We of course have a quorum. Public comment. Is there anybody who would like to address the committee? All right, next we have communications. The first being from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
I'd like to acknowledge that President Larry Wilshire is on board as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you for doing that. And maybe, is there any member, other members? David Fredette, Jim Kleiner?
Yes, John Griffin and Tim Cummings.
All right. So
Kleiner.
Welcome, Alderwoman Wilshire.
Doria, it's quite a few.
All right. First being again from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the continued contract with Letty Group in assisting with the online appointment systems for motor vehicle registration customers in an amount not to exceed $40,000 through June 30th, 2021. Funding will be through Department 126 Financial Services, Fund 53452, Staffing Services, by roll call.
I believe Mr. Fredette is here on this, City Treasurer. David, are you here on this one, or is it Ms. Kleiner?
I'm sorry, it's actually John and I.
This is John Griffin.
All right, we got Mr. Fredette and CFO Griffin. Go ahead.
Uh,
Could you explain the item, please?
Well, briefly, I could talk about it for a half hour, but briefly, since March of 2020, not March of 2021, but 2020 through today, I've had at least 2 to 4 employees out on medical or COVID-19 issues. And I still have employees out. And I've needed some extra help to deal with emails, telephone calls, and the appointment system. And we're seeing about 120 people a day, and I need that extra help with the shorthandedness with the people that have some health issues.
Okay.
Basically, the answer.
Questions or comments from the committee or any members of the board?
I have a question.
Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in the past, I don't have my notes taken very well on my sheet of paper here, but over the last year, we've spent, I think it was 24,000. And, but the end date on this staffing, I thought was June 30th of 2021. So I'm asking about the, why the addition, that's the end date is in 2 months, is close to what the original year was.
Mr. Fredette?
Well, I'm not sure I know the exact answer to that. I just know at one time we had 2 temp employees, and right now we just have 1.
But the question is $40,000 between now and the end of the year. That's the question.
Maybe I could answer it, Mr. Chairman. John Griffin,
Yes,
CFO.
Mr. Griffin.
When we started, as we all know, when we started the partial opening, we had a lot of our colleagues out front or out back, I guess, handing out tickets to folks that wanted to register their vehicles. It became obvious that we needed an electronic means of signing up for appointments. So the first staffing person that worked with me configured, whatever the right word is, the appointment system that we have today, and that's going very well. That individual left for another opportunity, and we subsequently got an individual to help us, most particular, Debbie Martell, who's the supervisor of motor vehicle. And as David's indicating, coming off of a closed shop with a partial opening, it took us a while to catch up. So this particular expenditure began, I believe it was August, September of 2020. It continues today. And because of certain illnesses in the team and certain COVID absences, we would respectfully request that we continue the relationship with the Letty Group through the June 30th of fiscal 21. So we haven't spent all the money yet. We spent a fair amount of it. We'd like to continue to do that staff augmentation. Hopefully that explains the question or answers the question.
Alderwoman Lou, do you have any follow-up?
No, I don't. Thank you for that answer.
Okay. Any other
You're welcome.
questions or comments?
I have another question, but if no
Okay.
one else does. I'm sorry, I just found it. So it's $40,000 that will be spent within 2 months. Is that correct?
Maybe I misspoke. The 40,000 would be the total amount we've spent from last August till this June 30th. We spent pretty close to 25,000. That's why we felt it important to come in and ask for Finance Committee approval.
Okay, I see. And is it weekly or
Yes.
It's
Mr. Chairman, it is weekly. This person works approximately 40 hours per week. No
All right.
benefits.
Now,
just
you were breaking
rate.
up there for a moment. Could you try to repeat that?
Sure, this is an hourly person. This is a staffing augmentation person. They get paid for hours worked, no benefits. But has proved, these two people that worked with us proved to be very helpful. Sorry if I'm breaking up. My internet's unstable at this point.
Any follow-up, any other questions?
Just a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I just remember that we had been talking about not doing any hiring. And I didn't know that, I wonder if this was actually sticking to that, but thank you for your answers.
Welcome.
Well, we've made exceptions where we have necessary people, and this, automobile registration brings in what for the city? $16 million a year, 17 million. And so we got to, make sure that all this gets done, and the citizens got to get their cars registered as well. So this is what it has taken. All right. Well, anyone else? If there isn't, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Klee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lowe,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. Next, we have Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager of Communication. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the continued temporary staffing services to assist residents with verifying appointments and navigation of the City Hall during construction with HW Staffing Solutions in an amount not to exceed $33,000 through June 30th, 2021. Funding will be through Department 111 Human Resources Administration, Fund 53452, Staffing Services by roll call.
All right. Mr. Griffin?
Good evening, Mayor.
Oh, is it Ms. Kleiner on this one?
It's following suit right after CFO Griffin and Mr. Fredette. Last fall, around the same time period as CFO Griffin was working on the appointment system, the Administrative Services Division and Risk Management decided that we needed to have someone who could assist our residents that were coming into the building. As you know, we were under construction, and that certainly brings some liability when you're having residents navigate the space. We also wanted to verify the appointments and assist motor vehicles. As we've continued on, this position has done a number of other things, such as give out information for the city clerk's office, assist individuals in how to navigate the city website should they need to get additional information, and also schedule some appointments for motor vehicles if it was off in the future. Now, as we're looking to have other departments join the appointment system, and we're looking to have more activity at City Hall, we'd like to continue this temporary staffing service to what we call the city greeter. This is our second city greeter who's actually in this role. The first city greeter worked for quite a few months for the city and was eventually applied and hired by the city in one of our departments. So that worked out quite well. We are also asking for through June 30th with a total amount not to exceed $33,000.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments? Anyone? All right, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
You're muted, Alderwoman Gathright.
Mayor, Alderwoman Lou has her hand up.
Alderwoman
Oh,
Lou,
thank you. I apologize. I was having trouble finding the screen.
no problem.
Thank you for catching that. Again, I mean, I think it's the way the memo is written up. It says 33,000 weekly. And I'm sorry to have to ask, but we are talking about 33,000 max between now and the end of June 31st, 2021. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
Correct.
that is correct.
Thank you. I'm all set.
All right, anyone else? Madam Clerk, then?
Alderman Klee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes,
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
I didn't hear Alderman Laws.
He voted yes.
Okay, Alderman O'Brien
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. Next item, communication from me, Mayor Jim Donches. It's a informational item to advise you that the lighting contract for the river has been amended to reduce the price by $9,500 roughly. Unless you have questions on that, I'll go on to the next item. I don't see anything. Next is also another informational item because we are just advising you of a amendment to the contract, the scope of the contract regarding software, because the net amount of the contract does not go up. They've agreed to waive any additional amount. So they're going to be doing additional hours, but not charging any additional fees. So that again is an informational item. And we could answer, I'm sure Ms. Kleiner could answer any questions if you have any. But if not, we'll move to the next item. Next item is a communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Right, just to make sure I'm at the same place, is this for the Havoc?
This has to do with the police department.
Okay, yeah, okay. Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, place on file, and award contracting services for the National Police Department Havoc repairs and system upgrades to Turnstone Construction in the amount of $3,601,767. Funding will be through Department 150 Police Department, Fund 81200, Buildings and Improvements, by roll call.
There may be someone with a PD here. If not, I could handle it, but, are you here on this?
Yep, Mr. Mayor, it's Captain Medeiros with the Nashua PD.
All right, please, Captain, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the committee. Just speaking on this, the contract before us stems from our heating, ventilation, air conditioning project that we've started back in 2019 when we had an overall assessment and inventory of our system. Due to the failures and inefficiency, obviously, we were recommended to mostly a total upgrade, which we went forth with, secured initial funding, was able to, based on the original estimate, we were able to secure a design through Yetton and Associates. And moving forward from there, the pandemic struck and held off on the design. By the time we were able to go to bid, which was this February, where we became aware of 4 bids, which one ended up dropping out. We ended up, after the vetting process and going through purchasing references and interviews with Turnstone Corporation for this price of the $3,601,767. Unfortunately, it was much higher than what was expected. We were able to go back to budget and secure the additional funding, and moving forward for our upgrade for most of it's the overhaul of the vintage 1971 original part of the building, and then upgrading the secondary 2000 HVAC systems that we have here at the department.
All right. And I would simply add that the police building uses a lot of energy, in part because of this antiquated and about to break down HVAC system. So we think that once this can be replaced, certainly the system will be much more dependable, but also we anticipate being able to save on energy costs, although we cannot quantify that. We'll be able to report on that after the fact. But this, if you see this thing, it looks like it was built in another era or something, because it's like held together by chicken wire almost. So any questions or comments on this from any members of the committee? I don't see anything, but I don't see everyone either. Alderwoman Wilshire.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to encourage the Finance Committee to support this. It's a long overdue project, and I think it will serve the city well in the long run. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Alderman Kelly.
Alderwoman Kelly.
I called myself Alderman, trying to trip you up there. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the potential savings with swapping this out for something more energy efficient. I know that that is on our list of things we're trying to do at the city, so I appreciate this.
Anyone else? All right.
There is a hand up. Dora has a hand up.
Who does?
Doria Brown.
Doria, are you here? Doria.
Yes, I am here. I wanted to speak as the energy manager in support of this project. It is going to be very important to get the HVAC done in a timely manner to complement the window project that the police department just did. From doing the analysis for the windows for the police department, they don't have nearly as much savings as they should in energy because they still have the antiquated HVAC system along with it. So as soon as we can get this project done, the better. Also, we were able to get access to some Eversource rebate funds for this project too, which should help hopefully pay back the bond or be able to go back towards this project or something.
All right, and of course, Doria will carefully document the savings which occur after the completion of the project. Anyone else, though, wish to speak on this?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Alderwoman Klee.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate the comments from Doria. I think that does lead us to the fact that if we just do the windows, we're only doing half the project. And it's important to make sure that we get full advantage of monies that Eversource is offering, or whatever other organization, whether it be grants or something to that nature. We need to take advantage of it because eventually this is going to have to be done anyway. So it's better to do it now, reap the cost benefits of the energy savings, and just on a whole green issue, I think it's so important. So thank you so much.
All right. Anyone else? If not, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Klee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Liu.
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
And Mayor Dodges.
Yes, the motion passes. All right, we now have another communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, placed on file, and approve renovation change order number 1 for the Public Health Building for unanticipated expenses to Martini and Northern in an amount not to exceed $150,000. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development, Fund 81200 Buildings and Improvements / Community Health Building Improvement Bond by roll call.
Now, I believe Mr. Cummings is here on this.
Yes, good evening, Mayor.
Could you just cover it, please?
Yes, absolutely. So for the record, Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development, and I'm here before you this evening to ask for approval for an additional $150,000 on the contract to Martini Northern for the construction and renovation rehabilitation of the public health building. I should note for the record that we have this money set aside. It is in the budget. We had planned for this originally. The bond authorization was for $3.6 million. The total contract pre this this request was just under 2.8. After this gets approved, we would just be under 3 million. And we have that money available. The various items, so this was available through our contingency, our owner's contingency budget that we have retained, and we had set that at 175,000. Just to note what some of these items are that we will be looking to do. These are really most of them are code-driven changes that we need to make to be compliant. We have a fire escape repair at 55,000 that needs to be done. We have building exterior lighting at 15,000. That's a risk issue. Landscaping that we need to do. Not so much we need to do, but I think it's one that we should do if we have the money for it, is pressure washing the exterior. The building hasn't been cleaned in I don't know how long, so now is the time to do it. Security cameras we need to do, ADA signage we need to do, sprinkler heads we need to do, all for code-related reasons, along with roof access for code-related reasons, maintenance reason, a relocation of a utility closet, maintenance improvement, filter grills, and then corresponding site work for the fire escape that we need to do. And then lastly, a maintenance related driven change, just a relocation of a water closet, which will create some efficiencies. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, looking to get approval for $150,000. We are on track to wrap this project up by the end of May. And we're trying to get the public health personnel back into their building sometime this summer. When all said and done, if we don't have any other surprises, we will bring this project in under budget, and I will have a better answer for you once we finalize all the numbers, but we will be well under the 3.6 million we set aside. Thank you.
Questions or comments? Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Director Cummings.
Yes.
Are the security cameras both inside and outside of the building?
Those security cameras would be exterior.
Okay. Thank you. I'm all set.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Kelly, Alderwoman Kelly.
I just wanted to comment that I know that the Department of Public Health is looking forward to getting back in their building, and this was a long overdue project. So I'm happy to support this and get them back in a space that is healthy and clean and allows them to do their jobs, which we know over the last year is very, very hard.
Anyone else? All right, could you, Madam Clerk, please call the roll?
Alderman Klee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Donches.
Yes. Motion passes. That concludes communications. We have unfinished business ordinances, unfinished business, and now we have new business resolutions. We have no unfinished business, but we have new business resolutions. R21-133. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
I motion to recommend, this would be final passage?
This would be a recommendation of final, that would be the motion, yes.
Yeah, okay. Authorizing the City of Nashua to enter into a joint powers agreement of Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire.
Now, this is again a motion to recommend passage, and I believe we have Doria Brown here to address the contract.
Yes, I am here to address the contract. I also have a short presentation because I understand that it's been a little bit since we've come in contact with Community Power.
Okay, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. So here we are. We're in present mode. Can you guys see the screen before I start?
Yes.
Awesome. So I wanted to present about the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, which is an organization that I have been working to form with the City of Lebanon, the Town of Hanover, and the and Cheshire County for the last year and a half. So we're finally at the milestone to officially join this organization by signing a joint powers agreement, which is the contract that we're looking at today. But first I want to go over what community power is. Community power is a way for towns, cities, and counties to procure electric supply on behalf of their residents and businesses and provide related customer services. For example, net energy metering, supply rates, and etc. So you're pulling purchased power. The utility company will still be in charge of delivering that energy to residents. So that part of the bill will be unchanged. But what we're really changing is where that kilowatt hour side of the energy bill comes from. We will be able to purchase potentially lower cost energy on behalf of the community and also greener energy if we decide that is the way we want to go in Nashua. So this is a very new and innovative program, something that would help us get to our 100% renewable by 2050 goal. Sorry, I'm trying to switch to my next slide. So what is the Community Power Coalition, which is what you would be joining when you sign the JPA? It is a peer network technical service group. So we are coming together to share services. I quickly realized when I started researching what community power is after RSA 53E passed that I could not implement a program alone as the energy manager. So this will allow us to share programs and services with other communities. For example, customer service, going out to bid for power supply, and also coming up with new and innovative renewable energy projects. So that brings us together with a bunch of other communities to share that cost, which would make it extremely expensive for Nashua to do by itself. So who pays? I know that's a big part of finance. So this agreement is free. To join in the JPA, we are not obligated or putting up any sort of money to join the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. What we are doing is setting ourselves up to be able to create an aggregation plan with our aggregation committee with help from this organization, which is something that would be very difficult to start up and do on our own. When it comes to cost of buying power supply, all of the cost of this program will be wrapped into the price of power, like it is now with Eversource. They wrap up any sort of cost that they're incurring with buying our kilowatt hours into the price that we pay. So we would be doing the same for our residents. That part wouldn't change. We'd potentially be able to leverage less expensive energy by negotiating for ourselves in the wholesale market or the ISO New England market. So how do you join the coalition? This is the part where we're at right now, which is the joint powers agreement. This is an agreement that has not been officially executed. So the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire is not an official entity until we have 3 communities who have adopted the JPA and are ready to start becoming a real entity. Right now, the JPA has been approved by our Attorney General. Lebanon has passed the JPA, so has Hanover, and so has Cheshire County. So Nashua is the last group to pass the JPA from the original organizers of this program, but we're expecting between 5 to 10 communities to have passed it by July 2020. So that's coming up very quickly. And once we have the initial group of 5 to 10 communities, the coalition will become a real entity and we'll be able to probably not go out for power supply yet because we're still waiting for rules to be made by the PUC, but we will be able to act as an organization to advocate for ourselves in PUC rulemaking, as well as start talking to vendors about power supply and figuring out what the price for energy is really going to be, which is something we can't do right now on our own. So what is a joint power agency, or where are they? They are everywhere. These are some places that have joint power agencies in the United States. This will be the first one in New Hampshire, which is kind of a big deal for Nashua to be a part of that startup. So what about in the community power industry? There are only a few community power JPAs. Again, the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire will be the first one in New Hampshire, but there are some in Massachusetts, California. There just are very few. So there's not a lot to go off of. And that's what I had for today, just to go over this. Here are some of our founding members. I'm up there, that's me, along with Clifton Below from the city of Lebanon, Julia Griffin from the town of Hanover, April Salas from the town of Hanover, and Rod Bouchard from Cheshire County. We are the founding members of the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. I'm just gonna skip past this. And I wanted to get to this part of the presentation because I don't want to hold you guys up all day, but these are the steps to starting a community power aggregation for our community. And I know we're kind of mixed up in the steps here because we had to start up the organization in order for us to get to these other steps. And we've done some already, like we've started an aggregation committee, but we haven't met yet. And that's because we don't have anything to do in the aggregation committee, but adopting the JPA will give us access to be able to create an aggregation plan. And that's where this group will be very vital to us. They will be able to provide us with templates and help us hone that template with Nashua's goals to adopt an aggregation plan and start going out for bid for power with the other communities. So right now we need to adopt the JPA, then write the aggregation plan with our aggregation committee, hopefully having our first meeting. And then that aggregation plan will go to our Board of Aldermen, where there should be a public hearing or a public session for people to speak on it. And then hopefully with a few edits, probably the JPA will be approved. And then we can officially start going out for power supply as long as the rulemaking is done with the PUC. So there's still a couple steps, but we're finally to that point where it's time to start meeting as an aggregation committee once the JPA is passed. So that's my spiel for today. Do I have any questions?
All right, so let me just clarify a couple of things which you went over, but for Nashua to embark on community power, under the state law, we would need to adopt an aggregation plan, correct?
100% correct.
And that would be first formulated by our own Nashua Aggregation Committee with the assistance of this Community Power Coalition.
Yes.
And that would then come to the Board of Aldermen to be voted on.
Correct.
And until there were an aggregation plan, and until the Board of Aldermen approves it, we could not embark on community power until those steps are completed.
Yes, and we also, according to RSA 53E, need to have a public hearing.
And we would need to have a public hearing where we would take community input.
Yes.
The other thing that, of course, needs to happen, which you mentioned a few times, but it's certainly become an obstacle, is the necessity for the PUC or some agency of state government, because now there might be a new energy department or whatever, to issue detailed rules covering some undefined issues concerning community power in general. And that needs to be done as well.
Correct.
So we're waiting on them. And there have been many discussions with the PUC in these towns and Eversource regarding the rule, what form the rules might take. Correct?
Yes, but we're hoping with adopting the JPA with a bunch of communities that we can act as a group officially in that official capacity to be able to work through that rulemaking session with either the PUC or the Department of Energy, if that is the entity that has the rulemaking session.
And do you think that the creation of this organization will give us leverage with the PUC to help persuade them that certain rules need to be adopted that would assist in the implementation of community power?
It'll give us leverage and organization as communities. Right now, it's a mishmash, like 148 people signing to speak on something, but everybody's saying the same thing, so it's not as productive as a conversation. If we're able to act as an official entity through the Community Power Coalition, we'll have a lot more leverage as communities and have a singular message.
All right. Well, I would like to say before we get questions that Doria has done a really good job, has worked very hard on this whole issue, and has become one of the leaders in the state on community power. Very promising, but has turned out to be more difficult and complicated than maybe we anticipated at the beginning. Okay, questions, comments from members of the committee or the board?
Patricia.
Alderwoman Klee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Alderwoman Gathright. I don't really have so much a question as I wanted to comment. I met Doria at an event at a training session before she was hired, and I was so impressed with her at that when I knew she was being hired, I was so thrilled and so happy because I could just see her work ethic and so on, and she just continues to prove it over and over again with this type of endeavor and her detail when she gives us reports and so on. So, Doria, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm trying to see, see if anyone has their hand raised, which I don't see. All right, well, if there are no other questions, could the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Klee.
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou.
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Laws.
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
And Mayor Dodges.
Yes. And I just have one question for Doria before the motion passes, but I just wanted to have one more question for Doria before she leaves. So if the Board of Aldermen acts favorably on this resolution, will then the aggregation committee be in a position to meet and begin discussing the education plan? Well,
This is what I've been waiting for months, is to be able to work on this aggregation plan. I didn't see the point of having meetings with the aggregation committee if there was nothing for them to do, but this is that first piece. And then after negotiating the aggregation plan, and if that passes through the Board of Aldermen in public hearing, then it's time to talk about what kind of services we want from the Community Power Coalition, how much money we're willing to put out for kilowatt hour for our residents. And that will be the biggest endeavor that the aggregation committee has to recommend that to the Board of Aldermen. Also, the committee will have to put up somebody to join the coalition's board. So that's also a big deal as well. It's finally time to start working, and I'm really excited about it.
Well, that's good. All right. Thank you very much. Motion passes. So that's recommended for final passage, and that will be taken up, I presume, at next Tuesday's meeting of the Board of Aldermen. Thank you. Thank you, Doria.
Thank you.
Alderman Wilshire's hand is up.
Who's?
Alderman Wilshire.
Alderman Wilshire.
Mayor, could we ask Ms. Brown to share the PowerPoint on the city's website or someplace?
Yep,
Yes,
you
we
got
can.
it.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. New business ordinances, we have none. Record of expenditures. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinance pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period from April 16th, 2021 to April 29th, 2021 by roll call.
Discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Alderman Klee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
I was stuck on mute. Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
You voted yes, I think.
Or you can't hear me tonight. It's
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. We now have public comment. Does any member of the public wish to address the committee? Remarks by alderman. Do any aldermen have remarks? I don't see anything. If not, Alderwoman Klee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'd like to make a motion for adjournment by roll call, please.
Thank you. Could you call the roll, please, Madam Clerk?
Alderman Klee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes. And the meeting of the Finance Committee is adjourned at 7:47 p.m. I hope everyone has a good evening.
Thank you.